What is happening? Jay Shockblast here, and oh man, I don't even know what to say right now. So this is my second time recording this video. I decided I wasn't happy with my first video, and I wanted to just sleep on it, see if I was less angry, and then come back and talk to you. And as the title suggests, and as the I don't know, the subject matter on the screen would entail, I'm here to talk about seeing Fantastic Four last night, and I guess spoiler alert, I'm angry. Spoiler alert, we're gonna be talking about the movie, and spoiler alert, I'm gonna save you some money. So just watch my video. It'll be way shorter and far more entertaining, and yeah. Or you can go see the movie. Actually, I don't want to actually discourage people from seeing the movie. I think it's actually kind of important to go see it, because it is awful. It is every bit as awful as the 12% review rating on Rotten Tomatoes suggests. It is one of the worst comic book movies ever, and it's not... I actually have a hard time saying that, because as a movie, it's not really awful per se, as much as it is just so grossly underwhelming, and so, like, I would say everything up until Doom arrives on the scene is actually a well-made movie, but so let's talk about a few things. I want to read something real quick. Here's Sue Storm. Fantastic Four, a contemporary reimagining of Marvel's original and longest-running superhero team, centers on four young outsiders who teleport to an alternate and dangerous universe which alters their physical form in shocking ways. Their lives irrevocably upended. The team must learn how to harness their daunting new abilities and work together to save Earth from former friend turned enemy. Written by 20th Century Fox. So, the last thing that I want the last person or group or entity I want telling me about contemporary is somebody who still calls themselves 20th Century Fox. Guys, I hate to break it to you, but we are 15 years into the 21st century, and you guys are still very stuck in an alternate universe of your own, where you think that what you've done is contemporary. What makes this contemporary? I think using the word contemporary in that description, all it does is give them an excuse to change the story and change things to make it worse. Like, I don't understand at what point in time they thought, you know, a lot of the things that they did were going to be a good idea. Now, I've been really worried about this movie for a very, very long time. I don't think there's any secret there. You know, I definitely reacted very strongly when Michael B. Jordan was cast as Johnny Storm, who, I don't know if you're looking right here, that doesn't look like Michael B. Jordan. Now, I want to cover that first because it's very, very important to me. There's this really gross section of the world right now that thinks that if you basically say anything the fact that I'm criticizing a black character for being cast as on a white role inherently and instantly makes me racist. And to that I say, if you actually feel that way, you're stupid, okay? Because that's not my problem. My problem is the same reason why I hate the way Victor Von Doom looks in this movie, okay? And it's not because I have a racism towards metalloid looking people. No. Or I have an issue with, people of, Middle Eastern descent or, looks. I don't know where they're trying to say Latveria, maybe Eastern Europe. I don't know. I don't know where Latveria is supposed to be in the grand scheme of things, but what I can tell you is I was sold Michael B. Jordan as Johnny Storm because he was going to be charismatic. He was going to be, fun. He was going to basically one up Chris Evans. Like, this was going to be that type of role because Chris Evans was fantastic as Johnny Storm. Like, he really nailed the attitude, the fun. This was supposed to be a fun character, and I bought into it because it really had nothing to do with race. I would have reacted the same way if they picked whoever the hottest, Asian actor of our time right now is, to be Johnny Storm. I would have reacted the same way if they cast a female to be Johnny Storm. I would have reacted the same way if they cast, I don't know, like a blue person, like Johnny, like this is Johnny Storm, like flame off. He is the classic honky white dude, like frat boy from, Arizona State, like that's him. That is Johnny Storm. That's a big part of who he is. And like, it doesn't make sense. And again, for me, it's a detail. It's not about, black or Asian or, European or white or Caribbean or Hispanic or anything like that. It's a detail of the character. This is how he looks. And I understand that these characters were created in a whitewashed era of racism. But that's who they are, like you don't just, I have this big issue with quote unquote contemporary approaches, to all these characters. And it's not just Johnny Storm. And I'm not like upset about it because Johnny Storm was made into a black character. I'm upset about every character that's being changed to something that they've never been. Like Thor being Jane Foster. Like, that bothers me probably more than Johnny Storm. Like, Thor is a person. Thor is a guy. All right? Like, I would have just as big a problem if, Black Panther was made Asian, So, like, I get tired of this whole, you're a racist, byline because, you have the audacity to want characters to be true to who they are, So, I want to talk about Michael B. Jordan because I was actually at a point with this movie where I was trying not to be a hater, and I was actually excited to see what he could do and what he could add to the franchise. And out of all the characters, he is the second most disappointing character. These two right here, all right, Kate Mara as Sue Storm, and what's his face, Miles Teller as Mr. Fantastic. I actually thought they did a really good job in the movie. I didn't really have any issues with, how they were portrayed, how they handled Reed Richards and Sue Storm. It's weird hearing that Sue Storm was adopted, but whatever. I guess Johnny Storm and Thing, though, are just... Like, actually, I don't mind. It's really not Jamie Bell's fault. Like, I thought he did an okay Ben Grimm. But they really made it feel like Ben Grimm was, like, dumb or something. Like, he was Reed Richards' kind of right-hand man. But it's all because his parents had a junkyard. And he just brought him stuff, Like, they made him very dopey. And I just didn't understand the approach for it. And it's almost like he was like a sympathetic character. Now, I understand, like, he got the rawest end of the deal when it comes to the transformation. But he was just it was like Sad Hulk being followed by, like, the tiny violin, Like, I really, really strongly disliked the portrayal of Thing. Like, once Thing came out, like, I didn't mind actually how he looked, but, like, he was just such a sorry, pathetic character. And then there's Johnny Storm. Now, if you're going to upset the fans, and there are a lot of fans that were upset, there are a lot of fans that didn't care, and I get it. If you enjoyed seeing, you know, such a great character look more like you, like, I get it. That's fine. And I was all for it because, I mean, I was on board with it because I thought Michael B. Jordan was going to do something with the character that was going to make it exciting. It was going to make it his own. He had one of the most forgettable performances I've ever seen in a comic book movie. Like, you can pick the guy who played Sunspot in Days of Future Past, and he's more memorable than what Michael B. Jordan put up as Johnny Storm. So, like, he looked fine as far as, like, his abilities and all that stuff. Like, that part was okay, but, like, his acting was bland, and it was boring, and it was just, I just don't understand. If you're going to make such a statement, and you're going to cast, you know, Reg Cathy as, you know, Franklin Storm, and you're going to cast Michael B. Jordan as Johnny Storm, I don't understand the point. Like, Reg Cathy, I loved him in House of Cards, but let's face it, he is boring and monotone. Like, if you're going to have a character be boring and monotone, that's fine. Like, he nails that part, but that's what you wanted for Franklin Storm? That's what you wanted for Johnny Storm? You wanted these two just vanilla, and it's ironic to say vanilla, but, like, just vanilla, boring portrayals. That's what you're going to change the game for. You know, you're going to take these two characters that have always been white, and you're going to make them black for the sake of those two actors. And I didn't think I would say that about Michael B. Jordan. And Reg Cathy, like, look, nothing against him at all. Like I said, I love him in House of Cards. But, like, you're making major changes to characters that have existed for, like, what, 75, 80 years? Maybe longer? Just for the sake of trying to cast those two people. That's my main point. And I don't understand what went wrong with Michael Jordan, because, you know, I think when Apollo, the next, like, the Rocky spinoff is coming out, and he looks like he's going to be great in that. And I actually can't wait to see that movie. But, like, I don't get it. Like, he was bad. He was awful. And I'm not trying to be a hater. Like, he was straight up, like, boring. Like, there wasn't one part of the movie where he was in it where he did something exciting. Actually, I take that back. He made one joke in the entire movie that made me laugh, and that was when he was introducing Victor Von Doom, and he called him Borat. All right, I laughed at that joke. Like, that was the only point, and his delivery was awful too. Like, it was very, very, like, forced and dry, but, like, it was funny because it was probably one of the very few funny jokes in the entire movie. And I think the biggest problem I have with that is my game freaking out here. Holy cow. To be fair, I've had my Xbox on for like 10 hours. Wow, that was bad. Yeah, I haven't turned my Xbox off in like 4 days, and it's been in this game for that time. That was embarrassing. Wow. So anyway, I lost my train of thought. Yeah, I don't want to rail on Michael Jordan because, like, again, I have no problem with him. I was ready and prepared to accept him as Johnny Storm, but, like, forgettable. It was forgettable. So I think we've kind of established you know, the four characters. So like they changed a little bit of like I get the whole interdimension travel. That, you know, as far as changing things with the story and how they got their powers and stuff like that, I can actually deal with that. You know, that was basically the premise for how they got together and how they found Reed Richards at a science fair that they just happened to be at. Like Franklin Storm is scouting science fairs to try and find, you know, somebody that can, you know, finish off Victor Von Doom's design for interdimensional travel. Okay, I guess, but you know, I guess we'll leave Victor Von Doom on here. Um, you know, I I don't know, like they've always had like interdimensional travel, go into the negative zone, stuff like that. And I think that's where they technically went because they called it like Zero, Planet Zero or something like that. So I think that's what they're insinuating, that it's the negative zone. Um, like they definitely I don't know, they that part of the story was okay because, you know, in reality, you know, these they got their powers, the five of them, by traveling to space. But here's the crazy part: Sue Storm didn't even go. She just got her powers by being there when they got back and having everything explode. And like they did it so that like everything that happened, like fire ended up in the shuttle pod that Johnny Storm was in, and you know, Reed was trying to stretch himself to like help, and a bunch of rocks went into the shuttle pod with Ben Grimm, and then Victor actually fell back and didn't even make it back with them. So I don't know. The part about the story, the part about it that really was just frustrating was they turned this into like a government thing where they're basically, um, you know, they've got all these powers and now the government is trying to force them to work with them and do all their bidding, and they want to send people back to the negative zone so that they can get powers and they can just have like a superpowered army and all this kind of stuff. Like I just really kind of resented all that. Um, it really was lame in my opinion. Like that's the story that you wanted to go with, and the director, um, who directed this, Josh Trank, has come out and basically said that his vision for the story a year ago was a little bit different, and he got overruled by by Fox, the studio, and you know, he's basically throwing them under the bus and taking no responsibility for this story. And it's just unfortunate. This movie should not have been as bad as it was. Like, to be honest, until you actually start dealing with them having powers, like, it was your typical origin story. And I guess I just don't understand why Fantastic Four needed such an origin story at this point. We've already had two movies. We all know who they are, like comic book fans. You know, those are honestly the only people that are interested in seeing this movie at this point are the hard and true comic book fans. So why did we do this? Like, they didn't just do an origin story. They went back and they did Ben Grimm and Reed Richards meeting his kids. Like, they really went hardcore into the origin story. And I just, it seems so unnecessary. They could have skipped a lot of that stuff, got right to the point where they went up there, and then had a lot of movie with a lot of action. The powers are such a big part of who the Fantastic Four are, and they're barely shown in the movie until you get to this fight scene at the end of the movie. Now, I haven't really talked much about Victor Von Doom. I'm trying to switch to him. There we go. Looks as awful as it sounds. He looks dumb. Like, I can't believe that is what they decided to go with. They went with his whole body fusing and being all metallic. Like, come on, guys. Like, Victor Von Doom is one of the most badass looking characters in all of comics. Like, he is. They definitely played that up too, though. They played it up as him being, very omni-powerful, like godlike, and ironically, in the new comics, with Battle World and everything, he is a god of the whole thing. So, I just don't really. I just don't know how you fuck that up, Like, I don't know how you make that mistake. Victor Von Doom, like, the guy that played him actually, did a decent enough job for me. It was Toby Kebbell. I don't really know who he is, what he's from, but I actually thought he was okay as Victor Von Doom. And then when he becomes, like, his all-powerful self, and they rescue him from the other dimension, like, he kind of plays it off like, oh, take me in. But when he's really just trying to destroy Earth at that point, because, I don't know, I guess apparently in his time away, he decided that he should be the only person in the world that, in the galaxy that exists. Which, for no reason, it, like, really isn't established. It's just, hey, I'm Doom, I've been away for a year, and I'm evil, He had his line, there is no Victor, there is only Doom. Like, it's just, it really, like, sped to the end with very little establishment as to why Victor Von Doom is mad. They did a really good job of, showing his jealousy towards Reed grow, as Reed and Sue became, somewhat close. I don't get the impression, based on what we see in the movie, that Reed and Sue are going to end up being married. That might not be a very contemporary story. Maybe Reed is going to marry Johnny. Like, that's contemporary, right? So I don't know. Like, it's just one of those things where there's so many directions they could have gone with this, and the one that they decided to go with was just dumb and boring. I'm not going to sit here and I'm actually going to give the movie like a 4 out of 10. Like, which I know sounds bad, but like, my inclination was to do like a 2 out of 10. But like I said, the early parts of the movie, the parts where they're doing the whole origin part, are actually not that bad. Like, it's boring, and I think that's what this movie is most guilty of, is just being boring, and just vanilla and generic. But I think that's what it's guilty of. And then there's just the disappointment kind of comes in, where, you expected so much more out of the Fantastic Four movie. The changes they've made just don't seem to have a payoff. My issue, all right, so the changes have been made. I have to live with it. And I'm trying to make the most out of it. I'm trying not to be a hater. So, all right, Michael B. Jordan is Johnny Storm. Just give me some payoff, Like, there is no payoff. It almost seems like they made this entire first movie for the sake of having a second one. And I feel like if you're going to make a movie that's going to be a franchise, you cannot take the entire first movie to set up a second. You just can't do it, it just doesn't seem right. You have, like, people are there right then and now to watch that movie, and they have expectations of what they're going to get out of it, and you're giving them a reason to watch a second one. Like, that's what this movie feels like to me, and I think that's one of the reasons why it's so boring and why I have such a problem with it, because, look, we know their story, and I get that you're trying to reimagine it, but there's just so much, like, you could have probably cut out like 30% of the movie, and just showed more action parts. Like, the action parts that they show are Johnny Storm chasing after a drone. Like, they go to the other dimension, they battle Victor, and he barely does anything, He flies around a little bit, and I don't know, man. The movie could have been so much better. It's not. It's really bad. I would not be shocked at all if the second movie gets canceled, because this movie is so bad. Like, and again, I guess I just keep wanting to go back and say, bad isn't the word. Boring is the word. It's not a bad movie. It's just extremely boring and extremely disappointing. If you want to save some money, I say just wait for it to be on Netflix. I mean, it's not really a movie that you have to hurry to see, but I just, it's kind of worth seeing because at the same time, it is a comic book movie. There's a part of me that actually wants to tell people not to see it though, because Fox, I just want them to lose. They just need to give up their licenses. It's sad. They're gonna get a home run out of Deadpool, like completely by accident, because they had that movie shelved for so long, and it wasn't until somebody actually leaked footage of that movie that they said, "Holy shit, we should make this fucking movie," you know. And now it's testing amazing, and it's going to be their best movie they've ever made, completely by accident because they're stupid. Like, and that's 20th Century Fox for you. They're in the 20th century still, and we're 15 years moved on from that. And I just want them to lose their Marvel license. It's completely understandable to see why Marvel has not supported the Fantastic Four at all in the last year. Why they've basically, they've ended the comic run, one of the longest running comics in the history of Earth. They've basically pulled that. They pulled it from, there's nothing really. I mean, Victor Von Doom is playing a prominent role in the whole Battle World thing. But other than that, I think they took Thing and they put him in the Guardians of the Galaxy. But Sue Storm and Reed Richards and Johnny Storm, I don't really think that they have anything going on right now. And if they do, it's very much, not Fantastic Four related. And it's unfortunate that it's come to that. Like, this movie is so bad that it's almost ended the Fantastic Four, one of the seminal families in all of comics, And that's sad. It's truly a sad day in comics when, such a great, family is shamed this way. And they just deserve better. And I wish that I loved this movie. Like, I didn't even want to love the movie. I just really, really wanted to like it a lot. I was hoping I would have to eat some crow. That I would have to, come here today and say, yeah, they hit a home run. Fantastic Four was a great movie. I really loved it. I appreciated it. But that's something that's not happening because it's just not true. They did not do a good job at all. As a matter of fact, it's one of the worst comic book movies of all time, and that's not rhetoric. That is legitimately how I feel. It is a bad movie, a boring movie. It's guilty of so many sins against the comic book world, and it's just really unfortunate that it came to that. So I'm starting to talk in circles at this point. If you've seen the movie, I'd love to know what you think. I'm giving it a 4 out of 10, and I should be much angrier. I honestly, when I started making this video, I thought I was going to swear way more than I did. I'm trying to be changed. I'm trying not to swear as much, but then shit like this happens. It just makes me so fucking pissed. And you know what the worst part is too? There's no scene after the credits. And I was not alone in waiting for it. Like, there was a lot of people. Actually, let me take that back. The theater that I was in, so I was in a 14-screen theater, and it's a decent-sized theater. I would say there was at least 300, maybe 400 seats in the theater I was in, and it was assigned seating. So when you go in there, you actually have to pick an actual seat, and that's the seat you have to sit in. You pick that when you buy your ticket. So I got there like right at 8 o'clock, right when the movie was starting, and I would say that maybe 40 tickets had been sold for the premiere showing of a huge comic book movie. In contrast, when I went to see Ant-Man, it opened in a smaller theater, maybe like a 250 seat theater in the same building, and I would say half of it was full. So like two franchises, not necessarily Marvel's most popular at this point, but Fantastic Four should have been the much more well known of the two. I went to both movies at 8 o'clock on Thursday, and Ant-Man just blew Fantastic Four away. So I mean that's where I live. You know, I don't know if that's gonna play true everywhere, but it sucks. And the best part about the movie was seeing the Deadpool trailer. A very, very toned down Deadpool trailer, by the way. No swearing, none of that stuff. So, I don't know, guys. I really am frustrated with this movie. I think you should see it for yourself. I don't think it's, one of those things where, recommending a bunch of my, subscribers to go watch the movie is going to make a big enough dent where they're going to say, oh, well, we're still going to make the second one. You should see the movie. Like, and I don't even care if you pirate it, whatever. However you see the movie, you should still see it at some point. And just have an opinion of for yourself. I don't want to discourage anybody from seeing it. It's not like a terrible movie. It just has a bad story. It's boring. Visually it looks good. The cinematography is solid. The way that it's structurally decent, like it's not like a poorly made movie. It's just an awful story with awful characters, like when your most charismatic character has maybe like 30 very forgettable lines, you're in bad shape, It's just really unfortunate that it came to this, but it is what it is, and I'm just saying the same thing in circles at this point. So I'm going to go ahead and stop. Love to know what everybody thinks. Fantastic Four is unfortunately in theaters now, and the only good part about that is we have one more movie out of the way so that we can get on to the good ones. And I hope everybody enjoyed the video. It's probably going to be more enjoyable than investing, 3 times as much time into watching the actual movie. So thankfully it wasn't a 2-hour movie, but whatever. It's bad, and it's every bit as bad as they say. So we will catch everybody later. See ya. I'm so sorry. I feel like I want to cry because it was so bad.